The laws of unintended consequences just reached up and bit Donald Trump right in the diaper. As we all know, the convicted felon and adjudicated rapist has managed to stay out of jail thanks to a completely corrupt Supreme Court. They are the only reason Trump isn't behind bars for crimes in New York, not to mention the federal crimes of insurrection, of stealing classified documents, that was open and shut, of breaking the emoluments clause, and I won't even list the rest because we don't have 8.5 hours. Every sane person on this planet knows Trump is guilty. Republicans like, say, J.D. Vance, know that Trump is guilty. It is only MAGA morons fed their daily diet of faux news that are unwilling to admit that Trump committed crimes. Well, bad news for the MAGA faithful. Fox News, beloved Fox News, beloved until they called Arizona for Biden, that is, admitted today that Trump committed crimes in the insurrection case. We're going to show a clip of that, but first, let's hear how Team Trump and the MAGA movement are responding to the release of this indictment.
I understand the argument. This is 34 days before an election. But what facts in here do they specifically dispute? Specifically.
Well, as of now, we're not hearing them dispute any of the facts. I mean, they're saying the same thing that we've heard time and time again, that this is a witch hunt, that this is a hoax, that this is all political. But it's not as though they are parsing through and giving us examples of what exactly is incorrect or not.
Now, I don't know about you, but when did witch hunt become such a get out of jail free card? Do we really carry that much generational trauma about the Salem witch trials that they deeply haunt our perceptions of jurisprudence? Trump is out there calling for Kristallnacht, mass deportations, and removing TPS for Haitians. And I don't see anyone out there screaming, Japanese internment, Japanese internment. Is it because the term is too long? But yes, the fact of the matter is, these are the facts. Trump knew the election results were valid. He knew the fake elector scheme was illegal. And most chillingly, he knew the crowd was out to kill Mike Pence, that it wasn't just hyperbole. And this Supreme Court wants him to walk away from all of that, Scottish golf course free. Here's testimony from the indictment about Pence. Upon receiving a phone call alerting him that Pence had been taken to a secure location, person 15 rushed to the dining room to inform the defendant, Donald Trump, in hopes that the defendant, Donald Trump, would take action to ensure Pence's safety. Instead, after person 15 delivered the news, the defendant, Donald Trump, looked at him and said only, "So what?" And that's just one of many facts about Trump's criminality that made Neil Cavuto of Fox News say the following.
On a busy news day, and we're trying to get to the bottom of it. Prosecutors right now are offering a redacted version of special counsel Jack Smith's filing. That had to be made public today. It was in this newly unsealed court paper. We're learning that former President Trump resorted to crimes in a bid to cling to power after the 2020 election.
At the time Cavuto was reporting the release of the indictment, he didn't have time to analyze it and report on the facts it contains. So let's point out a couple of them. Trump knew the election results were valid. Here's testimony. After some small talk with the legislators in the Oval Office, the defendant, Donald Trump, raised various fraud claims, including that he had lost Michigan because of fraud or misconduct in Wayne County, where Detroit is located. Person 1 corrected the defendant, Donald Trump, and told him that he had lost primarily because in 2 routinely Republican counties, the defendant, Donald Trump, had underperformed with educated females. And if he had received the same number of votes there as the 2 winning local sheriffs, he likely would have won Michigan. Person 37 could tell by the defendant, Donald Trump, body language that he was not happy to hear the assessment. Notably, the defendant, Donald Trump, only raised fraud claims to the extent that they affected the outcome in his own race, not those for other offices in Michigan. So Trump knew he lost Michigan, home of the surging Detroit Tigers, and worked to change it. The indictment reads, As his bid to hold on to power in 2020 grew increasingly desperate, Donald Trump pressed Republican Party Chair Ronna McDaniel to help promote a false claim that voting machines in Michigan had been manipulated. McDaniel balked. She had spoken to the state's House Speaker Lee Chatfield, a Republican who told her the claim was effing nuts. Yeah, and so now do we wonder why Lara Trump has been installed as RNC chair? But a third piece of evidence concerning Michigan is worth looking at because it gives us a warning about what Republicans are going to try and do in this election. In the immediate post-election period, while the defendant claimed fraud without proof, his private operatives sought to create chaos rather than seek clarity at polling places where states were continuing to tabulate votes. For example, on November 4th, a campaign employee, agent, and co-conspirator of the defendant tried to sow confusion when the ongoing vote count at the TCF Center in Detroit, Michigan, looked unfavorable for the defendant, Donald Trump. There, when a colleague at the TCF Center told, "We think a batch of votes heavily in Biden's favor is right," they responded, "Find a reason it isn't. Give me options to file litigation." And even if it isn't, when the colleague suggested that there was about to be unrest reminiscent of the Brooks Brothers riot, a violent effort to stop the vote count in Florida after the 2000 presidential election, person number 5 responded, "Make them riot," and "do it." The defendant's campaign operatives and supporters used similar tactics at other tabulation centers, including in Philadelphia. These are the facts that were not at Neil Cavuto's fingertips when he was on air. The irony is they are being aired now, only 33 days before the election, because the Supreme Court's twisted immunity ruling pushed the process down to this day and ordered these kinds of mechanics. This would have been aired months ago if they had just followed the Constitution. But then Trump would probably be in jail by now, so, come see, come saw. Let's see them keep him out of jail this time. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupied Democrats.